Hello there, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Welcome back.
What a great job she did.
Yay!
And hopefully everything is being recorded okay. A few issues this morning. So we want to ask everybody, just double check, make sure you are subscribed. If you want to be subscribed, as they keep rolling backwards the numbers on Evolutionary, it's been going on like this for 3 years. As more videos, are constantly removed. They seem to constantly remove numbers of subscribers as well. Because, when you get to 100,000, they actually let you talk to somebody. You cannot talk to somebody until you get 100,000 subscribers.
And that's what I heard about a year ago, so I don't know if they've changed that, but,
Well, things are rapidly changing in this world. And also EEARTS as well. That is the primary channel basically now. Though we kind of split it, and we're going to try to do a little different slants on each channel as we had originally intended before everything started to go crazy. And just so you do know, we are on Rumble. We've been on Rumble for, 3-4 months now, something like that. We were on Bitchute, but we weren't able to post on Bitchute anymore. And, we had interesting conversations with a source that's not going to be named. But that's deeply entrenched within, believe me, the know. As this person is, he's worked for a lot of the alphabet soups, and basically was confirming, certain sources are under control of other entities, unfortunately. So far, Rumble's good, but hey, they were just bought out by a Canadian company, from what we've gotten. And Brighteon, things have changed over there. The channel was growing a lot over there. We were still able to post kind of anything, but the views don't feel right, so to speak. But still, at this moment, we are able to post on Brighteon, and we're going to work on posting on our own channel. Our own website, Evolutionary Energy Arts, as well, because that was what the recommendation was from somebody that we respect. And he said, if you want to keep talking as long as possible, that's the best way to go. And so here we see the protests are still underway up in Canada, and they're still trying to break it down, and there's still people being arrested left and right, and still there's people out there, as we can see here. And there have been just some really disheartening acts that have been done. And, it's so sad to see people being so suppressed by the powers that be. Who thought you were going to compare Canada in 2022 to Germany in the 1930s? Really? But that's what we're going to do.
Well, yeah, and I'm looking at this as in an emotional standpoint, seeing these people being stifled and having them lose their rights, and maybe even many of them feeling like they're losing their voice. And this is one way that they stifle us and traumatize us, is they, try to take our voices away. But we have to keep in mind that our energy spreads far and wide, and we just keep on using it.
Absolutely, and I do have the intention that I think we should do another video just going through everything regarding the energy body. We do have playlists up there on Qigong, mantra playlist, there's a yoga playlist, there's all sorts of different playlists up there, specifically tailored towards different segments of the things that we talk about. But a good deep recapping would be great, new. Because, this is really all about the heart chakra. And if you look at the 7 chakras along, the main thoroughfare, what we call in Tai Chi, the Taiji pole, or also in Qigong. And, the heart chakra is number 4. So there's 3 above and 3 below as far as primary ones. There's more than that, but as far as what's commonly looked at. So it's kind of what we're working through right now is a union of, as above and so below. And yes, this battle that we have going on is multidimensional. And again, powers that be totally understand all this. They just want to keep the people in the dark as much as possible, because knowledge is power. And if the people had the same knowledge, then the people could acquire the same power, and actually even more, because we're not limited as they are. When they choose to go this route, they're not going to get out of where they're at. They're going to be just basically stuck in the muck and the mire of the lower 4D realm, the lower astral realm, and that's the realm of, well, not nice things, basically. This is what you would expect. And as we were covering in the last video, when we were talking about, wars and rumors of wars and famine and pestilence and earthquakes, and hey, that's just the Kali Yuga. That's what you get every Kali Yuga, because we come under the control of these dark forces. Now, not every person, repeats the Kali Yugas indefinitely. Again, the individual can ascend at any time. It's just simply a matter of a change in frequency starting in the heart chakra.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, utilizing our energies in such a way that it'll really, really bring us to a place where we can be heard and we can have our ways put forward, and we can change everything, because remember, there's so few of them, but what gives them power is their understanding of how to utilize things in the ether. So once we learn to do these things for ourselves, just think about the outnumbering that they're dealing with. And they know they're coming up against this. They know they're coming up against something. So they're just doing everything they can to try to stomp us back down.
Absolutely. So you see this Ottawa police chief, it's now unlawful to protest against government. 100 checkpoints have been established. So you cannot say when you are unhappy with the way things are going. Mm-hmm. And, it's beyond disconcerting. Canada's parliament suspends debate on Trudeau's Emergency Act. They will take it up again, hopefully. I keep coming back to Star Wars, and the whole premise of Star Wars and the earlier ones is that, the Dark Emperor himself, he's part of the political structure, and he's maneuvering these things into place. And he's, got this drone army, and then he wants a clone army. So, he basically gets them to give away their power, to give away their free speech, to invoke emergency powers that never end, because now all of a sudden, hey, we're not a republic. We're not a democratic republic or anything like that anymore. This has become a full dictatorship. And again, the model that they want for the globe is the CCC, CCC, and let's add another CP model, and as we had said, they are making a list, checking it twice, and the people that are naughty are in their list. In their mind, there's anybody that speaks up for their own rights. But yet, of course we should speak up for our own rights, because every one of us is a sovereign being. One size does not fit all. We're not slaves. But, isn't it fascinating? That's exactly when we go back to some of the oldest myths and legends, and you get that Wikipedia for the Anunnaki. What's their vision of humanity? Well, created as a slave race. What are we seeing on Earth right now? Well, two classes. They want to just divide it down to the ruling elite and the slaves. That's it. Because slaves don't have rights. Slaves can't speak up. Slaves can't debate what's going on. No, it's this is what we can see manifesting before our very eyes when you can't even talk about this. So Canada's parliament suspended Friday's debate on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's emergency powers, sparing the Liberal leader another day of uncomfortable speeches from MPs who are fiercely opposing his use of the draconian keyword, draconian. Yes, because ultimately that's who he answers to. All these humans here, they're just going on up the line. It's just like when you see that scene in Star Wars, again, for you Star Wars fans, when Darth Vader, who seems to be so powerful, and yes, he is more powerful than Justin Trudeau, at least in the movie, right? But, and by the way, Darth Vader means Dark Father, right? He goes and he gets down on his knee and, bows before the emperor and says, "What is thy bidding, my master?" That's basically what these guys do. This is what the Trudeaus and the Soroses and the Macrons and the Bidens, except for Biden, would probably be like, "Yeah, you could be gay, my master."
He would have some trouble there.
He would.
Yeah, he would.
You'd hear in the back.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Isn't he adorable?
There he goes again. It's Senior Poopy Pants.
We can't help it. We can't help it. These energies going back, they stay the same, when we're talking about the controllers. Who are those? And these are the energies that go back so many years and generation upon generation, as I check to see who's really in control. And I go back to all the different wars and all the different uprisings. I keep feeling the same energy that's in control. And it's not those people that we can see on the TV either. This is a totally different entity, a different energy. And they've been at this for a long time. And they know they're coming up against a wall. And it's like they played it really well for a long time to show us that, no, you have freedoms, you can choose and you can speak, but people made an uprising to the point that they can't control them anymore. So now what are they doing? They're showing us the truth. They're showing us the truth of really what's going on now.
Absolutely. So the question is, are the stormtroopers going to revolt, or are the stormtroopers going to keep enforcing the ever-increasing draconian way? As we see, the son of Fidel there, it's just, some people, it's going to make you nauseous to even look at them when you know exactly where they are coming from. Well, his liberals, with the support of the New Democrat Party, do have enough votes to ensure passage of the motion. And that another quote from Star Wars, so this is how liberty dies. Yeah, you could hear the music going dum 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 da dum dum da dum, right? It's so. Again, it's so vril society. It's so Thule. It's so Nazi. It's just insane. Horse-mounted Canadian police prepare to storm Bouncy Castle. Yes, they're gonna take out fun-loving, freedom-loving kids. What is wrong with the people that are enforcing this stuff? What is wrong with them? What's gotten into them? Well, maybe some of them aren't themselves in so many ways. We look back to the Emerald Tablets. It says they will not be able to hold their form anymore. And the fact that people truly are overshadowed, possessed by beings that are very, very negative. And in the Islamic tradition, they're called the jinn. And we had talked about the jinn before. And there are beings, you might call them wraiths, because they can appear sort of similar to the ring wraiths of the Lord of the Rings. Again, if you look to our culture, you look to our history, you look to our myths and legends, and our modern myths and legends, because isn't that what Star Wars has become? In so many ways, then we see that there is an underlying truth. And here there was a woman that, I'll give you guys the link to it. This is Tim Truth channel over on Bitchute. By the way, Bitchute is also controlled by the powers that be now. It's curious. Now, I don't know. There are different levels of compartmentalization. So, if you are still on board with one of the boxes they want you to put in, they'll let you show certain things because, again, they want people to be angry. They want people to be hateful. They want people to be outraged. They want people to do things that's going to enable them to enact more enactments that are going to restrict you even more, that are going to bring out that full-fledged martial law that never ends. This is, again, that conundrum, as we have many people saying, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Well, again, getting out of the system as much as possible. Can you imagine if all the world's money was all of a sudden worthless? Because people just refused to take part in it and just decided they were going to barter and trade and work out different sorts of agreements. And we did discuss this again with a very, very intelligent man that's spent many, many decades inside the machine. And again, it's the logistics. We're used to, being able to order something that's going to come from Indonesia and you're going to get it in like a week typically or whatever. And it's going back to thinking local, eating seasonal. We're going to have to kind of go back to the past a little bit to move forward. This poor lady who was just basically saying, we want peace. Whatever happened to love and peace? And she's needs a walker to stand up, and it looks like she has some sort of, I don't know if she's getting some sort of IV or what next to her, but she has some sort of medication or something hooked up to her. It could have been oxygen, but she was talking pretty good. They bring in horses that end up trampling people, and somebody did lose their life from this. This is just atrocious. What's wrong with people's hearts? The people that are actually carrying out the will of the controllers.
Right. These are the people, I guess this is where the pivoting point is. When people can control other people, when is it time to back your fellow man? When is it time to stop taking orders from on high, because we all understand now at this point where those orders come from, and just reclaim our sovereignty? And all of these things need to change. The change needs to happen. It's kind of I guess you could call it a destiny, but how the change happens can be more in our court than I think we understand.
How do you handle seeing all this stuff and keeping peace in your heart?
Right.
And it's not easy. It's not easy for us. And we're people that meditate all the time, every day, doing, mantras and meditation and all sorts of energy work. We're afforded the luxury of being able to spend 2-3 hours doing this every day. And, that's something that we've cultivated as a choice because it was part of our mission. Yet even us, we could feel that just sadness, or the anger could build too, and it's really important to keep control of your emotions. And again, way easier said than done, especially if you're in the thick of things. How do we have a peaceful sort of transition? As you see, Alexa Lavoie is a reporter that was really brutally attacked, and as you see this here, those are bruises, and this is her again, hit 3 times with a club, sprayed with tear gas. There's video. When they really are censoring to the degree where there are things that just should never happen that are happening, and may happen indefinitely, as you see his deputy, Chrystia Freeland, who is also a director of Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum, says she plans to make her emergency powers permanent. Some of the powers that are being put in place become permanent. Interesting, her family ties too. They go back to this particular time period. She has ties that go back to this time period. Some things run in the DNA in some ways, and some people keep reincarnating into the same families, the same groups, in order to keep the same purpose moving forward. And the press in the Third Reich, when Adolf Hitler took power in 1933, the Nazis controlled less than 3% of Germany's 4,700 papers. Elimination of the German multi-party political system brought about the demise of hundreds of newspapers produced by outlawed political parties. And they become disinformation. This is not the official thing. So you're now an outlawed political party. You're now an outlawed, you can't speak what you see as the truth. So it also allowed the states to seize the printing plants and the equipments of the Communist and Social Democratic parties, which were often turned over directly to the Nazi Party. In the following months, the Nazis established control or exerted influence over independent press organs. During the first weeks of 1933, the Nazi regime deployed the press, the radio, and the newsreels to stoke fears of a pending communist uprising, then channeled popular anxieties into political measures that eradicated civil liberties and democracy. SA, stormtroopers, and members of the Nazi elite paramilitary formation, the SS, took to the streets to brutalize or arrest political opponents and incarcerate them in hastily established detention centers. Aha, F period, E period, M period, A period. All these things, later on they became these. Yes. Nazi thugs broke into opposing political party offices, destroying printing presses and newspapers. Then book burnings happened too. Sometimes using holding companies to disguise new ownership. Executives of the Nazi Party-owned publishing house Franz Herr established a huge empire that drove out competition, purchased newspapers at below market prices. Some independent newspapers, particularly conservative newspapers and non-political illustrated weeklies, accommodated to the regime through self-censorship or initiative in dealing with approved topics. And, so can't you just see the echoes of this? This is so obvious. We're just watching history repeat itself yet again. Because it's the same players pulling the strings. How did they get these amazing technologies? As we're seeing, this is sketches of design here from 1944 and actual crafts. Lots of these crafts. Isn't it fascinating? Typical flying saucers, the German bell, the Nazi bell. They were fascinated with making contact. And as, Cindy can make contact and does make contact. Most of the people that we're making contact with are on 5D, 6D, and higher. Yet, you might not know who you make contact with. And, there's so much that we haven't yet shared with you guys. At some point in time, there'd probably be a massive series of books that can be written. And I will get started on that at some point in time. Promise. Because we've contacted people. You could really, this is the thing, you could contact almost anybody at any time when we are fully functioning with a fully operating pineal gland. You want to know if, Jesus said something? You'll be able to. You could contact him. You want to know what did Nostradamus really mean with this particular prophecy? You'll be able to contact him. You could, contact such people throughout history as John Dee, which we've actually, got information. Who was John Dee in contact with? Who were these quote-unquote Enochian, well, maybe we should actually say draconian influences when, we realize that. And, Mr. Crowley, Alistair, he's got some regrets too, because he contacted and was fooled by, again, the same beings. And again, we have grays. You see a lot of grays out there. The grays work, again, for this whole grouping, which, again, if we go through the power structure, all these secret societies, these families that have what we would call EGG blood, EGG are 3D. The Anunnaki themselves are lower 4D. That's why they need the EGG to be here, because it's, they're of this density. However, we're rising up in density, and the Anunnaki now can appear physical to us as well. And then there's many beings that have been captured in war and then are put into service as basically slaves, because this is the way it works. As above, so below. When you look at, say, the Roman system of conquering a people, and then what do? You conscript them. Some people are going to become slaves. Others are going to work the fields, but they're going to be giving you their food, and you'll let them eat enough to stay alive. But then you're going to also conscript the males, back in that day, and they're going to be put into military service. And then, if you look to when Caesar was fighting Pompey, and, they're calling in some Germanic, quote-unquote, barbarians to come and fight and aid Caesar against Pompey, and his battle is over in Spain. This is just part of what goes on forever. get the people to police themselves as much as possible, and that's the control grid we have in place, but they're not in charge. The controllers are off planet. And of course, they want you to think there are no aliens, there are no interdimensional beings. Everything's just simply angels and demons. That makes it nice and simple. Keep people in their basic small little boxes. But we can see technologies are given. And, we were talking about those hypersonic missiles. How does Russia, China, and now India have them? And the U.S. can't seem to get it right.
I know. I mean, there's just so much information that has been, hidden, redacted, that has been taken away from us. Information that if we really knew the truth of a lot of things, we would act a lot differently. And that's something that they know. And this is why they protect a lot of this information, or they change it. So we have to be very careful. Like when we look into history books and the biggest history book that explains all of mankind that's here out on the West, that was written by the controllers. So this is something, part of the processes that we need to watch whenever we see something that's part of the biggest controlling mechanism on the planet. We really have to question this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's so many ideas that are put out there in order to get people that have been waking up to go down their dead end and dismiss something that's really important. And we've seen so much just things that have been, the public has been allowed to see. If we just put these pieces together, I mean, from free energy, from all sorts of horrible weaponry that's created by our own governments, that really, when you look at the express purpose, so much of it is crowd control, controlling the masses in many different ways. There's amazing technology that's been out there for a very long time, and you will see things, more than likely, you will see things in many people's lives that are alive right now. They're going to blow your mind. And it's fascinating to go into this, the secrets of Nazi occult science. Maria Orsic and the Vril Society contacted aliens, yes, and interdimensional beings, sure. There's tons of people out there, and aliens are people too. We've contacted so many. And when we were, sitting on our little piece of property in Nevada and close to the military base there, and where Area 51 and everything else is, we would see UFOs coming through portals, and they would head over to the base, and Cindy could remote view and see the beings, and a lot of these beings don't look like anything we've ever seen before. And their vibes are relatively neutral, many of them. Now, of course, the Greys, the Draco, those vibes, these things that we would call jinn or wraiths, those are nasty, nasty vibes, dark vibes. You feel it right away. But there are many ETs that are, kind of neutral, and they're just doing their own thing. They're just trading. They're doing their own thing, and they don't really get involved with the political reality here on the planet.
Right. They operate on different levels. They operate under different information in a more neutral space. And this is where we need to start operating from. Start operating from the heart chakra. Operate from that neutral space, with compassion and nurturing. But it's really difficult in these times because there's so much turmoil. That's why we all have to really find our center and find our meaning and find our purpose in this life, so that we can just continue on with our mission, because we did come here for a purpose. Every single one of us, especially those that are listening to this channel, you guys have a mission and a purpose, and it's time that we get busy with it.
And so Hitler himself basically funded this society, and it was all about making clear contact, using people that were gifted mediums, and getting this technological advantage. And again, yes, Germany might have lost the war, but the Nazi apostrophe S's didn't. They went on. They just shifted their venue. They went to Antarctica, and actually they're still all around when you get down to it. And so many of the top scientists, as we said, were taken back into both us and Russia's power structure. So, fascinating stuff. We wanted to share this with you. History is repeating itself, guys. It's just so obvious. And, I've always known it was going to go down like this, just because I've been giving these visions ever since really about 1984. For me, is when I started to see these things, and it was staggering at the time. And I do think we'll see something that's going to look like a alien invasion at some point in time. That's farther out, but the thing is, when we hear of Project Bluebeam, what's real, what's not real? Well, a lot of people say Project Bluebeam, and then they just throw out the whole idea of aliens. There's no aliens, it's just Project Bluebeam. Well, that's what they want you to think. Again, and if you're going to trust the quote-unquote, deathbed quotes of one of the top NAZI scientists who happened to head NASA, he did say there was going to be, all sorts of, what were we calling them? Oh, BS banners, FFs, BS banners. And, at the end, one was going to be the asteroid card. There's asteroids coming in. It's going to wipe out all sorts of things on the Earth. And the other thing was going to be the fake alien invasion. Now, he supposedly said this out of his conscience bothering him on his deathbed. Do you trust that?
Right. You really got to start asking yourself these questions. Who do you trust? Why do you trust them? And start listening to that inner voice. That's the most important voice we have on the planet.
Absolutely. As we uncover things, we recognize things that these people are all intertwined. We see Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, he's 33rd degree Mason, as was Charles Taze Russell, again. And that Russell family goes deep into the group that begins with an I and ends with an I. And he was the founder of Jehovah's Witnesses, talking about the end is near. This is part of their script. This is part of what their job is. When we look at Darwinian evolution, Charles Darwin was another one. And so give us the fact that there is evolution, but then distort it in ways that are not obviously true. And this is, again, some people are going to figure things out. They're going to understand that things evolve. Okay, well, let's lead them down another dead end. Some people are going to find out that there's aliens. Okay, well, let's use it to our advantage. We'll acknowledge that there's aliens, slowly but surely. We'll even show them some, and that might not be in the too distant future, maybe just another 5-6 years away, that they'll show us some. But again, who is in control of this world? Well, that's the ones they're going to show, but they will make them out to be saviors. And again, in some ways, they've told us this with the Bible. Like, many people are trying to figure out who is the Antichrist. Well, if you look at it, it might actually end up being somebody that's not of Earth.
Right. When you look at the Bible through that different lens or that different understanding, you start to realize that, oh my, they're not talking about things of this earth at all. Once you put that lens on and just plant that seed that maybe they're not from here, then you start seeing it all over the place in the Bible.
Absolutely. And when I was either 19 or 20, that's when it hit me. And when I was reading about the day of the Lord, and all of a sudden, what do I see? I'm reading about the day of the Lord, and I'm seeing the sky full of things like this. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, whoa, okay, yeah, everything makes sense now. I get it. Because he even quotes and says, why do you want to hasten the coming of the day of the Lord? The coming of the day of the mighty ones, the powerful ones. It's a day of woe. It's a day of travail. Men are going to look up and see the sky full of the sign of their coming, and their hearts are going to fail them. They're going to cry out in fear. Can you imagine a sky full of just countless ships? Yeah, I think everybody would be looking like Mr. Poopy Pants, number 46. They're going to need a lot of depends that day. But at the same time, we do see where there is going to be a split in consciousness. They know this. if you can keep your vibrations high, if you can learn how to have a Buddhist detachment, not get drawn in, keep your vibrations high. The spiritual component is by far the most important thing, because we are eternal. We are eternal. We don't die. The body dies, but we don't stop going on. It's just as soon as this door to this life closes, it's the opening of another door to another life.
Right. It's the cycle of life. So there is never, never, never an end to anything. It's actually a whole bunch of new beginnings. It's our perspective.
Absolutely. So what the powers that be want is they want you to hang with them. Do you want to hang with guys like this? No, I don't. I'd rather go hang with, beings like the real Yeshua. That would be a much more pleasurable thing than smoking cigars with this guy.
It really would be, and we all get to make that decision. We all have the option to make that decision, and that decision, it's time to make it now.
Absolutely. Prioritize the spiritual. And what is that? Well, it's different and unique for each person. For us, for me, it's mantras and Qigong and still meditation. After that, some yoga and music, actually getting myself lost in putzing around on a guitar, for instance, or just being out in nature. That is so healing, so beautiful. Getting away from all their technology, because their technology, every single piece of technology comes with like fish hooks, and they hook into you. They're banking that you will not be comfortable giving up their technology. And eventually they're hoping that you'll just say, okay, just, I'll take the one on the right shoulder, or no, you might as well just put it on my forehead.
Yeah, I know. They're just hoping, banking that you will decide to go ahead and just give in because it's easier. And that's one of the problems with mankind. I guess we definitely have this lazy streak. And this lazy streak has been kind of drawn out in us, through all of the things that we might perceive to be as helpful for our daily life, or something that might seem to save us time. Go ahead and enter this information here, and then it's there forever to pull as soon as you need. It's all these conveniences disguised as conveniences that make us give up our freedoms.
So again, what is hell? Well, can you imagine? You remember the old movie Groundhog's Day? Can you imagine going through this time period again and again and again? Well, that's what these guys want to share with you. So I certainly don't see any sense in partaking of that. Not at all. So again, keep the vibes high, guys. We want to thank you for your support on Patreon, also on Ko-Fi, where you could do a one-time donation, or you could also do monthly, just like on Patreon. Do check out Medicinal Foods. This is the founder and owner, Sky Cubby. Great guy, great people. And lots of goodies here that can help boost the immune system, which we all need. Also for detoxing, there's a lot of good articles. He has a blog here too, how to decalcify your pineal gland. That's imperative. This is what we need to be working on as much as possible, is the energy body. Your Merkaba is your key to multidimensionality.
It's very important.
And do check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com. Learn more about us. You can reach us at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail. Much love. Oh, Sin.
Oh, yes.
So she's going to give us some dings, guys, and this is going to help.
So I'm always curious, who feels that and what did you feel? Leave it in the comments. It's always fun to go through and see what you guys experience.
Much love.
Namaste.